August is when we start preparing for the onslaught of bugs in our subtropical Australian garden. First it's the aphids, then the caterpillars, and of course it's that time of year when we need to start being vigilant with the fruit fly again. In this video, I'm going to talk about fruit fly strategies, natural pest management, some products that I use when things become quite dire, and finally I'll show you some bugs that I've bought to introduce to my garden. If you've never lived in a Queensland fruit fly area, you probably think I'm talking about those annoying little bugs that hover around rotting food and a simple vinegar trap will do the job. No, these are a native insect to Eastern Australia and they are catastrophic to most fruits. That includes your tomatoes, capsicums, and even chilies. There is even a closely related species that stings cucumbers, pumpkins, and zucchini called the cucumber fly, and it looks very similar. They lay the eggs just under the skin of your fruit, injecting a bacteria in the process, which speeds up the breakdown process. Fruit flies become active after periods of rain or high humidity, and with this rain we've had and the upcoming warm weather predicted, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them in the next couple of weeks. Queensland fruit fly don't really look like flies. They look more like a small reddy brown wasp with yellow accents. The cucumber fly has slightly different yellow markings but looks very similar. There is also a melon fly, which is a major pest in northern Australia. If you live up north and come across it, you will need to report it. They look similar to the cucumber fly, but our native ones do not have the dark smudges on their wings. I did a video a couple of years ago that outlined my strategies of keeping them at bay. One of those included using a protein bait called Eco Natural Lure and painting it on timber and hanging it around my garden. It worked really well, but unfortunately now that bait has been discontinued. We've also been using Trap for a while, which is an organic fruit fly trap that attracts the males. After cleaning out the trap this year, I noticed that there weren't actually many in there. And I know we would have had a lot around as we did have a loaded guava tree that I wasn't netting. So I'm not sure that those traps were actually effective. I got in touch with the guys from Bugs for Bugs. It's a business all about bugs for the agricultural industry. I'm not affiliated or anything, I've just used their products before and the guys are extremely helpful with my annoying questions. They do offer a protein lure that gets the female fruit flies, but it doesn't actually have any poison that will kill them. You have to add that in yourself, which I'm not keen on messing with. They do, however, have these male attractant bait stations, which is mostly used for knowing if you have them about. After speaking with them, I opted for one of those. They said for a regular suburban block, you only need the one. It does only attract the male, so it's part of a holistic approach of dealing with them. You can't just put one of these up and expect your fruit to be free of stings. The only surefire method for us small-scale backyard gardeners is exclusion nets. I have bags that I can individually net fruits, then big nets that I throw over entire trees or garden beds. Netting is great, but it's not ideal for things that require pollination like cucumbers and zucchini. So you'll either need to do that yourself or time it right so you get the net over just after they've been pollinated. The other really important factor is fruit fly hygiene. Don't put any affected fruit straight into your compost bin. Don't let stung fruit rot on the ground. Pick it up, boil it, freeze it, or put it in a plastic bag and leave it in the sun to kill those maggots before you compost it. I just keep a little Ziploc bag in the freezer and chuck affected fruit into the bag, emptying everything regularly. If you don't properly deal with stung fruit, your numbers will just keep increasing year after year. Now we've got the major one covered, let's talk about some natural strategies to keep other destructive bugs under control. We want bugs in the garden, and it's all about balance. If you're constantly wiping out the bad bugs, you're going to take the good ones with them. Some bugs you want to see in your garden are the parasitic wasps, praying mantis, ladybugs, and even assassin bugs. Just don't get too close as they do have a nasty sting. But the best bug of all that I discovered after a chat with an entomologist who worked in the agriculture industry is actually spiders. A really cool resource to help you identify what you've got in your garden is from the Beat Sheet website. There is a PDF called Good Bug, Bad Bug, and it gives you comparison. It shows bugs that are very similar to each other, and I don't know how many times that I have squished a hoverfly larvae thinking it was a slug or caterpillar until I discovered this resource. Now, I rarely recommend gardening books. I find them to be glorified coffee table books that offer very little value. But if you're going to buy one, I really recommend Denis Crawford's fantastic book called Garden Pest Diseases and Good Bugs. It is a great resource for us here in Australia, and he's also pretty responsive if you hit him up on Instagram with any of your bug questions. So whenever someone asks me if I practice companion planting, my answer is yes, but Not in the sense that basil planted near tomato will make it taste better. For me, it's about making sure the garden has lots of diversity, planting the sacrificial plants, and not putting all of my eggs in one basket. You really have to go in with that mindset that you may only get a quarter of what you sow. Allow yourself to have those sacrificial plants and don't rip out the sacrificial plant when the bugs get bad. Let them be. Give the good guys a chance to catch up. They'll never show up if you take away their food the moment they arrive. An example of this is I planted some cabbages back in May. 2 got eaten by rats. 1 got eaten by caterpillars, but I got 2 perfect cabbages. The rats kept going back to the same ones and gnawing on them. The caterpillars stayed put, and if I had have pulled them all out, chances are the pests would have gone straight to the perfect ones. I think the 2 biggest things that have made a huge difference is integrating more flowers into our vegetable garden and also installing a bird bath. Flowers feed the beneficial insects, so we plant loads of them, and we also let our veggies and herbs go to seed. I'm one of those people who thinks coriander tastes like soap, but I still grow it as their flowers seem to attract so many lady beetles. Flowers provide the food for your pollinators and also your predatory insects. If you only have 1 flower, I would go with alyssum or sweet Alice, but my other favorites are calendula, salvias, perennial basils, cosmos, and zinnias. Mix your plantings up and have lots of diversity. That means different shapes, colors, and also scents. This is another reason why I do my monthly planting plans. Each bed is full of different things as opposed to one bed full of just one thing. If you want access to my planting plans, you can come on over and join us inside my growers community, Dirt Lovers. I'll put a link in the description above. Now, I know birds can be destructive in the garden. Cockatoos are always being obnoxious, parrots are stealing tomatoes, and a lot of people hate the noisy miners because they are, well, noisy. But before I had a bird bath, I had a grasshopper problem. Since I've installed my bird bath, I've only seen a handful of them, and never enough to be of concern. I've seen the miners and the butcher birds take them out before I even notice they are there. Natural balance is all good and well, but when things are dire and you're not getting anything from your garden and you're close to giving up, there are a couple of things that I recommend. So the first is diatomaceous earth, which is effective for insects that have exoskeletons. Apparently slugs don't like it either, but I've never had slugs, so I cannot confirm this. I used this successfully when my seedlings started to get snipped off, and I just put a little around the newly planted seedlings. It kept whatever it was eating them away. Another one is for snails. We don't get a lot here, but occasionally we'll get an epidemic of the little Asian ones. These are iron-based snail pellets, which are safe for pets, and they do break down and feed the soil. Nature's Way dipple is another one I use for any high-value crops when I have a caterpillar problem. I use this when the armyworms or cluster caterpillars start taking out everything. So armyworms are the worst, as they often lay their eggs on my nets. So it just looks like mold or like a little bit of fuzz, and the babies just fall into the nets inside. It happens a lot with the veg pod covers, and because there's no natural predators under the net, if you're not onto it, they can be quite devastating quickly. This product is actually a bacteria that when the caterpillars eat it, it does something to their stomach and they die. It won't affect any of your beneficial insects, only insects that ingest it. We make our own eco oil, and I don't use it that often. It's just dishwashing liquid, vegetable oil, and water. I use it for scale insects, so when I have scale on my citrus trees, I use it a lot then. It's good for mites and aphids, and also for the citrus leaf miners. Just don't do it on a hot day, otherwise you will roast your plants. Now let's talk about buying in bugs. I don't do this very often. We have a very healthy community of ladybugs that just appear shortly after the aphids do. I did purchase some predatory mites in the past when I had a russet mite invasion on my tomatoes, and it worked really well. I haven't had it since. I think it would work a lot better if you were gardening exclusively under nets or in greenhouses where you can contain the bugs. So I get my bugs from Bugs for Bugs, which I mentioned earlier in the video, and they do now actually offer predatory mites for chicken mites, which is a fantastic idea if you've ever had to deal with those in the past. It is not fun. This time I got some lacewings. I rarely see them in my garden, so I just wanted to get some to see if they will help with the aphids, but mostly I wanted to see if they would work with the citrus leaf miners. Ever since repotting my daughter's orange tree, we've had a bunch of new growth, and I wanted to see if the lacewings will help. I don't usually worry too much about citrus leaf miner as it doesn't really affect the growth. It just makes the leaves on the plant look horrible. I got a garden pack and they have these little boxes that I can just put around the garden, so I'll scatter them around and see how they go. I've been planting loads of flowers to hopefully get them to stick around. My main concern is that it is quite windy here, so they may not like it. Hopefully their babies will just do their job, load up their victim corpses on their back and keep everything in balance. I'll report back in our monthly garden update videos on how they're settling into their new home. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.